to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and next to me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. Today we are joined by returning guest, host of the podcast Jordan Jesse Go, and writer and creator behind the sci-fi scripted podcast series and now graphic novel Bubble. Welcome back, Jordan Morris.
Hey, it's good to be here.
We are so excited.
Thanks for coming back. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Yeah.
I mean, Bubble is one of my favorite scripted podcasts I've ever heard.
Thank you.
Really
That's nice. That's nice of you to say. Yeah, it was. It's always been so comic booky. Like even the podcast is very comic booky. So when the folks at First Second asked us if we wanted to make a comic book of it, I screamed for 20 minutes and then collected myself and said, of course, I think I could make that work. So it's been so fun to kind of mess with that story and those characters in a bunch of different mediums. And I think it's, I've seen early versions of the comic and I think it translated really well. I'm really excited about it. I mean, we have a great artist and colorist, and I had a great co-writer, so it was it all kind of came together.
Was it a big shift from podcast format to comic?
So there was a couple of things that we kind of didn't expect. It's like, okay, so the artist I should mention is Tony Cliff, who does the Delilah Dirk series. They're kind of an all ages series about a swashbuckling adventurer. They are great. You should check those out. And my co-writer is Sarah Morgan, who did a lot of work on the podcast and is a comedy writer in the UK. Our colorist is Natalie Reese, who does the Dungeon Critters series, which is
yes,
kids series. So anyway, so that was the team, and then we were kind of talking about what we wanted the book to be, and our editors had some requests. The podcast ends on a pretty goofy cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So they said it needs to have an ending. You need to have an ending for it, and and then it was just the first thing to approach was just tonnage. There was just so much podcast that would make a impractical to draw 600-page comic.
Well, and they're almost opposites, right? From podcast, you have to describe everything,
right.
And then to change that script to a comic script where you have to leave things for the artist. It's not all dialogue. It's not all narration. It's almost like the opposite thing.
No, I know it was. And so, so we did a little rewriting. We kind of took out some stuff that we felt like was, fat, or that we could save for another volume, or some stuff that, we didn't think would work great for comics. And then we kind of came up with some new stuff. I think we wanted it to be, a fresh-ish experience for people who had already listened to the podcast. We wanted to give some new insight to the characters and do some more kind of world building stuff that, felt like it was new. So yeah, I mean, we and Sarah and I are both new to comics, but Tony Cliff is a veteran, and the guy does such great work. So he was really helpful, and he is very funny. The Delilah Dirk series is kind of clever and quippy, but not very jokey. But Tony Cliff has jokes. Tony Cliff definitely has jokes. So I mean, I am perfectly fine saying that he was the third writer on it. So and then Sarah and I both come from the world of late night, so we're both jokes by the yard people. Right. I think that's her expression. It's we get paid in in those kinds of jobs, you get paid in just pages, pure pages. Right. So we certainly tend to overwrite. So we did a pass of the script where we're okay, if we take out some of these words, you can enjoy the pictures more, So there was a little bit of a editing, kind of picking our favorite jokes and kind of throwing out the ones that were kind of just filler, so that the pictures could do a little more talking. And and then we had some we decided to kind of play with comics, and we have some wordless scenes. We have some scenes that are just action, and we, thought it would be kind of fun to play around with that. Yeah. So it, doesn't just feel like we handed the artist a script and said, draw this now.
I mean, as a writer who, every thing has its own kind of formatting, its own kind
Yeah.
of rules. Plays are different from
Yeah.
screenplays, are different from comic scripts. How did you find that adjustment period, like learning the format of a comic script, the panel breakdowns and page breakdowns, and like knowing where the beats go, which pages should be the big splash pages, like those
Sure.
kind of things.
So, I mean, I read a couple of books going into this. I read Brian Michael Bendis has a book called Words for Pictures.
Mhm.
And then there's a DC guy. It's an older book. I think it's Neil Adams. I'm maybe forgetting the name, and I'm packing to move, so I don't have the book in front of me. But yeah, so I read a couple of different books, and like, a thing that both of them kind of wanted to get across is that, like, make it easy on the artist.
Right.
Like, and the Bendis book even goes as far as to like call the writer scum. Like,
Oh
you're
my
scum,
God.
you're replaceable. Like, it's there. You make them look good. That is
Right.
what you are there for, to like, make something for them to draw.
Right.
So kind of like defer to them a little bit, ask them how they want it. And yeah, so we kind of tried a couple different ways, and I think the thing that Tony liked best was like something that looked a little more like a screenplay, but was kind of chattier.
Right.
In that, like, it's a screenplay for only him, so it was kind of like, in the scene directions, kind of talking a little bit about emotions and if there's anything kind of important prop wise that's going to come up later in the scene. So
Right.
yeah, so I think the thing we gave Tony was uh I would call it like a chattier screenplay.
Right.
So yeah, we kind of tried to do kind of panel breakdowns and stuff, but I think he just wanted to be a little more experimental with it. And I think when people read it, you'll see that like um he kind of plays with panels and like people going off panel and things kind of bleeding into pages. And there is some stuff that is like really out there format wise that I don't want to spoil, but like
Ooh.
he really like plays with comics in a really fun and interesting way a lot of times. So I think that like he wanted the freedom to kind of do that. So that's kind of what we landed on.
That's awesome.
That's so exciting. I can't wait. It's going to be so good. It's a perfect like series for a comic. Like,
oh, good. Yeah, no, I think so too. It really like felt like it, kind of wanted to be that. So it was fun. It was like, it was a challenge, but it never felt like it shouldn't happen.
It's nice that it keeps getting like new life, eh?
Well, next the screen.
Oh yeah, sure. I have a little bit less to say about that at the moment, but I am writing the Bubble movie now.
Oh.
That is a third beast that is very different. So yeah.
Wild.
One more way we can pull them back.
Yeah, I'll come back. It's an animated movie, so I'll come back on the show in 2026.
Oh God. I like that your perspective is that everything's going to be fine by then. That'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, or we'll all just watch it on HBO Max.
Yeah, there it is.
Which is now where all movies will be shown all the time. No, not so bad.
And directors love it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. Your vision can be up there on screen, and maybe we can make the thing 4 hours.
Oh yeah.
The movie has to be in 4:3 though.
It's sure. I'll do it in 4:3. That's what the kids. If that's what the kids are into. If that's what all the HBO Max stands demand.
Definitely.
I'll do it in 4:3.
Amazing.
So let's talk about the theme.
Yeah, we thought something that would kind of like fit the sort of like fun,
Totally.
kind of jokey element would be to have a look at the Justice League International, the Giffen DeMatteis,
Yeah.
also known as the Bwahaha League, like the comedy Justice League series, basically, that there was.
Yeah.
I managed to read, because I have nothing but time, I managed to read 3 volumes of it.
Wow.
Like, go back and read 3 volumes of it. I know, Jordan, you had looked at, I think it's the volume 3.
So I did 2 volumes of it.
Oh,
and
nice.
Whoa.
I read it in a weird way. I read it just in the order that the library was able to get it to me.
Right.
So I read the 3rd one and then went back into the 1st one. And I've gotten a little bit. I have 2, and I've gotten like a little bit into 2.
Nice.
So yes, I got to read 3 and then kind of go back to 1 and see where they planted some of those seeds.
That's actually kind of interesting to go back that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's a comedy, funny Justice League comic. It's the exact opposite of the experience of watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I do like, but it's not the
Yeah,
same.
me too.
Like,
There's some singers in there.
Yeah, I mean,
it was quippier than I expected. it to
We
be.
were
Yeah, totally.
we're gonna do a Patreon episode on it, but like, I think one of the things that surprised me the most was the things that I just assumed were Whedon
Yeah.
weren't.
Yeah,
Some
totally.
of those quippy things that I'm like, I just figured that was something.
Yeah.
Which makes it great because that's a good joke and it's much easier to support now. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome for sure.
So yeah, should we just
Why don't we get into the
it?
questions?
Do you have any sort of like global thoughts from like
Oh,
reading this
yeah.
thing before we take on some questions about it? Like, did you enjoy reading the funny?
I
Justice
loved
League?
it. I loved it. It was great. I don't know why I've avoided this for so long. I feel like I know the cover of that first volume
Yeah.
with Guy Gardner on the front.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why I've been avoiding this thing. It's terrific. It strikes a great tone. It's actually funny. Like
Mhm.
I was surprised. I like legitimately laughed at stuff. Yeah, I don't know, and I think it strikes a nice balance. I think the third one I read was very jokey.
Yes.
It has like self-aware villains who are like, I'm monologuing to myself again.
Yeah.
Who kind of make fun of supervillain tropes. And it was interesting going back and reading the first one, which is a little more restrained, like still has kind of like some of that office comedy that the other one has. But it's terrific. It's so good. It's got such a fun cast. Like, maybe a little bit bloated. I don't know if we need Captain Atom in there. I don't know what he's adding to things.
Yeah.
Rocket Red, the Soviet superhero. Although,
Yeah.
I guess he comes into the international theme a little bit there, and 80s Cold War. I get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, in general, I loved it. I'm totally gonna keep reading it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's really good. What year did it come out?
This is like late 80s into the early 90s because that lineup is like the Justice League that tries to fight Doomsday before Superman is like, you guys should step aside.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, why don't we get into some of the questions?
Let's do it. Yeah.
First means we're going over to Facebook.
Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook.
That's right. First question comes from Jeff Whaley.
Jeff Whaley.
Who asks, how much do you love the one punch scene?
Oh, right. So you went back to the first volume, so you saw the one punch.
Yeah, the one punch is awesome. It is so the Lantern in this Justice League is Guy Gardner, the conservative asshole
Yes,
who loves
yeah,
Reagan. Got such a funny choice to make him love Reagan, and it is to see him, and he does have that like alt-right haircut, so like
yes,
he would be very comfortable in the modern Republican Party, I think.
Yeah.
It was weird when he brought out the tiki torch in the 80s. That was
It
I
is
wasn't
weird.
expecting
Yeah,
that.
it's very weird. Yeah, so Guy Gardner, the Rogue Lantern, is just generally being a dick to everyone pretty much throughout that first volume.
Yeah.
Batman clocks him in the face, knocks him out, and then when he wakes up, he's like a gee whiz nice
He's
guy.
so sweet. He's the sweetest guy ever. Yeah. It's funny to me too, because as you go through that series and through the second volume, and things like that, with Guy like being all like, oh, are you sure I can't just help out? Like with him being like
Yeah.
that, then Batman just becomes this like angry asshole on the team that Martian Manhunter has to keep being like, you're not the leader. You have to listen to me. Like
Oh, shit.
Batman eventually calls everyone a moron and quits. Like
Really?
Batman becomes the Guy Gardner in that series. But it is kind of funny that they start with like, Batman is so clearly used to working with his Justice League.
Right.
And this is not how this one is going. And he keeps saying, like, I'm warning you, Gardner. I'm warning you. And you're like, all right, Bats, like, don't cross your line or whatever. And then he just socks him one. It's perfect.
Wow.
And like, I like the League reactions to it too. Like they're watching and Blue Beetle is like, oh my God, it was one punch. That's amazing.
Yeah, and then
Like-
they're all kind of talking about it afterwards. It's such a funny thing about, you have like the big global threat, and then you just have their like little office politics that they have. And
Yeah.
granted they're punching each other in the face, but like it is such a funny like small little like workplace, conflict that
Yes.
gets into the middle of this, kind of crazy world-ending scenario that they're dealing with.
Totally.
I think that's like the one version of like a Justice League thing I would want to watch as like an ongoing series is like
Right.
that type. I think like
Right.
because I get really over a lot of the like tights and capes stuff sometimes,
Right.
especially when you have it in like a team form like that. It can become a lot like the one character stories tend to be a little bit more introverted and you get some of that melancholy and stuff. But like when you start getting a big team, it becomes just like there's so much punching that needs to happen. You don't really get a lot of those.
You
scenes.
would like the Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Justice League. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good. All right, let's go to the next question. Speaking of Guy Gardner, William Blake asks, why was Guy Gardner chosen over the other Lanterns to join?
Ooh.
Is there a fiction? I don't know if he's asking what the fictional reason is or what the like publishing reason was.
Right.
I don't know either. So
yeah, I mean the publishing reason may have been just similar to why they couldn't use Superman and Wonder Woman and stuff like that, which is this is just post-crisis, and they were sort of like being exclusive about where like who was controlling what stories. So like John Byrne, that was Superman, only he could do that. Perez was doing Wonder Woman. I think Denny O'Neil like felt bad for them and was like, you could use Batman. But they also weren't allowed to use Flash, at least not in the early kind of go. It was all of these things where they were like, it was just off Crisis. They were like, we need to set our big characters up properly in the new continuity. You can't use any of them. Make a Justice League book. And they were like,
Wow.
But why it's fictionally... I mean, I don't know if specifically that's why it had to be Guy. If they were like Hal's off limits, it might have been. But I do like the idea that sort of like in universe, you do get the sense that like this team is being cobbled together. It's partly being manipulated together by Maxwell Lord over here, and it's partly being cobbled together by Martian Manhunter and Batman, who are just like, we just need bodies to make this thing. And so that's why they get Black Canary, who's obviously worthy of being on the League, but they also have like Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, and I like the idea that like it's the best Lantern they could get. Like Hal and John Stewart were too busy doing actual work for the Corps, and they were like, Guy was just like at the bar, and they were like, fine, we need a Lantern. Like I kind of like that.
That is awesome, and you don't even really like Guy Gardner.
I don't, although I will say, because everyone always gets at me when I say I don't like Guy Gardner, I love Sweetie Pie Guy Gardner.
Like this Guy Gardner.
Yeah. I love him after
he gets the punch and he turns. Yeah, it is really funny, especially because he's so mean to like Captain Marvel about being, a kid, and he calls him like Captain White Bread or something like that. So it is funny that Captain Marvel leaves and Guy Gardner takes on that Gee Whiz personality.
Yes,
That's really funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's great. All right, moving on. Hey-ho, Braydon, yes, the donkey rises, who asks, how did Booster Gold wind up the leader of the JLI? What made him more qualified than the other members under him?
I don't specifically remember what made him leader,
but
is he? Maybe I didn't get to that. Is he? I didn't. I don't. I think I ever saw him as the leader.
I think that's considerably later than
maybe that's
things we sort of read for Refresher.
Mm.
But he does kind of like accidentally earn his way into the team. Like Max Lord sets him up, and then Batman watches him once when he manages to do something properly, and he's like, "That's great, good job, you're on the team."
Yeah,
it's kind of.
I think Booster Gold is like effective,
Yes.
like he's a boob, and he's kind of like he's a bro.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he
I don't
even
know.
has the popped collar.
Yeah, true. I know, right? Yeah, they like anticipated a lot of fashions in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he is like, and I think that's kind of the thing with like a lot of them in this is like they're kind of goofy personalities, but I think they can all like do stuff,
Yeah. I mean, you love Booster Gold.
Yeah, I do.
Is that? But I don't know that I know why. What is it about Booster Gold that you love? Is it just the time travel?
Similar
thing,
ideals,
or
man. No,
is it the like chasing fame thing?
Yeah,
Like,
I
which
think
piece
it's
is it?
partly it's like time travel, the way that he has to do it, and the sort of the fact that like no one will ever really know what he's done, and he
Right.
has to back this persona of this like sort of dick,
Right.
and yet he's actually like done all the right stuff. I think that I love that piece of it. I love the sort of like the like fake pomp and stance like that he has to put out there,
Yeah.
the flashiness and the fact that he's like it also feels more realistic from like a superhero standpoint. Like you look at something like The Boys or something,
Right.
you're
Like
getting
the corporate kind of
yeah
thing.
and I think that just feels like so different than what everybody else has done,
Right.
that for me it's funny, and it's also like I love him and like Blue Beetle together. Like
Yeah.
I think that that's such a fun combination.
I mean, I agree with Jordan that Booster is not incompetent on this team, but would I ever say he's more qualified to lead than other members of that team? Probably not.
No, he doesn't come off like a leader for
Booster
sure.
now in the comics, you can make the argument, but Booster then, no, of
No,
course not.
yeah. Definitely. All right, let's move on. Next question comes from Truth, Justice, and Hope, who ask, between Legends and the first year or so of JLI, DC seems eager to use Captain Marvel. Do we know why he was dropped from the lineup so quickly and didn't appear in a regular title again for almost a decade?
Yeah, you already mentioned Captain Marvel is around for a bit and then he leaves.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, he feels like he needs to find himself. It's a very like emo. He kind of like goes and flies around and gets his thoughts together. It's very cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know this is like the most like legally fraught character in the history of comic books. He
Yeah.
became Shazam because Marvel bought Captain
Yeah.
Marvel or whatever. So yeah, I guess maybe I would. My guess is that would be this is maybe the start of when it becomes a legal mess to have him.
They've already been at this point in history through so many of those battles, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that something new cropped up.
Yeah.
Maybe even from like the estate, like the 80s was when Kirby was like suing to get his work back from Marvel and stuff like that. Maybe the estate of CC Beck or something like that was trying to do that with something similar with Captain Marvel or whatever. And then the fact that it's already entangled in this, like Marvel can also have a Captain Marvel. They can call their book Captain Marvel. You can't. Ours is Power of Shazam.
Jeez.
Like, it could just have been that. I mean, post Crisis, the reason you probably saw Captain Marvel a lot was because in Crisis, at the end of that story, they fold a bunch of Earths together, and that includes Earth S, which was the Fawcett Comics world of old Golden Age Captain Marvel. They officially blend that into the continuity, so it makes sense out the gate that you'd see him a bunch. In the way that it makes sense you see Blue Beetle a bunch. That's why Blue Beetle is in this book, was because he came from the Charlton Comics Earth 4 at the end of Crisis. So they're trying to take these new characters that they're like, this is part of DC now, and give them as much exposure as they can. I would imagine that him disappearing again was either a legal thing or coming back to the thing that kicked off the legal thing in the first place, is they were like too similar to Superman, too powerful. And then they were just like, we got a Superman. We don't need a Captain Marvel story. Kind of thing, which I could also see DC doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. How do we feel about Captain Marvel on that team, though? I actually kind of liked his dynamic because he's this big, nice guy, and he's like their heaviest hitter.
Yeah, I like him too. I in general like Captain Marvel / Shazam, and it's interesting because I remember reading a kind of a modern-ish Justice League thing that includes him. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny that they're like incorporating the like little kid, the big element into this.
Right.
And this is kind of before the movie kind of like made a meal out of that. But they're doing that here. They are like doing the like, oh, what if a little kid was in a superhero's body? Like he is kind of a goofball who likes Oreos. Like it's it's there. I feel like the first time I encountered that idea, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then I'm like, oh no, that's baked into the character. So it was kind of cool to see that being done so early.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not as hammy as it is now, where it's like just Billy in a big body. But yeah, he's definitely got like a naivete sort of to him.
It's a good lean. Like, it's a
Yeah.
good direction to go with a hero.
agree,
I'm
yeah.
glad they leaned into it. I think that because I do agree that, like, once you start making the parallels with Superman, it's like, well, it's just another nice guy who's big. Like, the Superman's a nice guy who's big too. Like,
Yeah.
there's not enough differentiating them, but I do love the, like, the kid inside of him thing. I think that's
Yeah, and I think it helps justify that he's even more good than Superman. Because he doesn't, even Clark has a little bit of weathering on his soul, like he's had to live. He has a job, he's paying bills. Like, he's still, like, even with him being good, there's a little bit of like a chip out of it,
yeah. Because no matter how good you are, the world will slowly beat you down and chip away at you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did I just pitch Zack Snyder's Justice League?
There it is.
Like, yeah, it's the only option.
Maybe that's
Sold
why I
in the
like
room.
it.
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, it's a Superman you can get behind.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Let's do it.
Next question comes from Steven Salazar, who asks, of the books that came out of the Crisis reboot, does this still hold up, or is it a haphazard assembly of A to D list members and new DC acquisitions? Also, you're in bed with Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. What spot are you? Middle, outer, spoon, or double spoon?
Right.
The question on everybody's mind.
Hard hitting.
Yeah. Let's address the first thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about Captain Marvel and Blue Beetle coming from DC's acquisitions of other companies like Fawcett and Charlton Comics.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, what do we think about like this lineup? We get characters like Martian Manhunter and Dr. Fate, like, and Captain Atom, some big guns. And then we also get like Beetle, Booster, Fire and Ice.
I loved Fire and Ice. I
Yeah.
thought Fire and Ice were great. Where is that reboot?
Yeah.
They're awesome. They're kind of they're kind of the female Booster and Beetle. They
Yeah.
are two like buds, and yeah, they are really portrayed as like, D-listers who like they just have to take because there's nobody else. I thought they were great. I would love to see them in more
Yeah.
DC stuff and movies and stuff like that. I think
Totally.
they're cool characters.
They are. Yeah. And you're right. Even in the book, they're like, we're the two heavy hitters from the Global Guardians. And Blue Beetle's like, okay.
Yeah.
He like scoffs at them, even though they're like objectively more powerful than him.
Yeah.
But what do we think about this team? Like, I know publishing wise, they kind of just had to take what was available. But do you think that comes across, or do you think that this team actually just works?
That's interesting, right?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's terrific. Yeah, I mean, I think, they did kind of like, you can kind of see the, you can kind of see the publishing mandate in the story a little
Yeah.
bit. They even kind of, seems to be kind of like meta text, like, this is what we got.
Right.
But I think they like, they treat that, they treat that in the story in a really fun way. And like, I think it works. And yeah, I don't know. It's terrific. And again, yeah, maybe my note would be like overstuffed, like there are a couple of characters who are just like, oh God, have they been there this whole time? I forgot about, Captain Atom. I forgot about Captain Atom. Yeah. But other than that, it does seem like it's just such a fun team and everybody has such fun powers.
I will say, I think they also do a pretty good job of they'll rotate some characters out when other ones need to come in. Like,
Sure.
Dr. Fate and Captain Marvel kind of go on hiatus, and then you'll bring in Captain Atom and Rocket Red because the UN mandates that like it's the only way the US and Russia agree to the UN charter for the team is if they each have a rep. So Captain Atom represents the States and Rocket Red represents the USSR. And then Black Canary and someone else are busy right when Green Flame and Ice Maiden, later Fire and Ice, come in and join the team. Like, they kind of time it a little bit where it's like, we got to get a couple of these pieces out of the way so that we can introduce the new ones.
Yeah.
I think it works. I like blending the big characters like a Martian Manhunter who's been on like every version of the Justice League, who's like this like elder statesman kind of thing with these like younger, greener heroes, at least in terms of like the team thing. I think that works.
There's a funny little runner where they enlist Hawkman for an adventure, and Hawkman is just constantly complaining about like, so many jokes. My Justice League would never do this. Why are you? It's like he calls it a compulsion or something. Why the compulsion to always make jokes? It is that is a funny like kind of meta text thing about how jokey comics got around this time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a ton of fun.
And he's a good person to make that comment too.
I mean, it's funny too that you bring up like comics getting jokey, because this is the time when almost everything else was veering the other way.
Yeah,
you're right. That's
like
true.
we're bending towards Death of Superman, Nightfall, Emerald Twilight, like all of these stories that were about breaking or depowering or killing the heroes. And JLI was just like, why don't we let them have a laugh? Like it's. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't reading at the time, but I wonder how refreshing that must have felt, like to be reading a book that was not like mullets and spiky jackets and like
your Lobos.
Yeah, a lot of Lobos.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, the second question, I think I'm getting double spooned. I like being small spooned.
Who doesn't love being
It'd be
the small
me
spoon?
and then Booster and then Beetle, I think. Working outwards. Yeah.
I want to be a pivotal piece, so I'm in the middle.
Right.
I like to just be cupped.
Are they both spooning into you, or are you in like an actual spoon formation?
Oh, interesting. I think they're both wrapped around me, both
Right.
like one facing the back and then one facing directly into my front.
Right.
And we're all just sort of tangle of legs. I think
Gotcha.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Jordan?
Oh, that'd be perfect. Hey, there's no bad configuration. Everybody wins. Switch it up night to night.
That's great. Next question comes from Toast, who asks, why hasn't there been another comedic-leaning Justice League book since this one? And do you think we will ever get something like this again?
Yeah. What do you think, Jordan? Why do you think we're so averse to like a full funny kind of Justice League?
Maybe they had. There is a reboot of this team. This team does come back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And didn't Lemire try and do kind of a funny, quippy JLI a couple years ago? I read some of it and remember thinking it was pretty good.
There was are you talking like Justice League United?
Oh, maybe that's it. They go to space a lot.
That one, yeah, it was. I won't say it didn't have jokes. I think it was like Animal Man, Green Arrow were kind of more like the kind of lighthearted, fun ones in that. But it definitely was a little bit more cosmic. They end up like tangled up with the Legion and some stuff like that in those stories. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely lighter than the main Justice League series.
But like comedy forward like this, right? Like
not quite like this one, no. What do you think is maybe like holding that back? Is it just that we need to take our heroes seriously, or is there something else?
That's interesting.
Yeah, DC doesn't like
love
fuck
to make
around
jokes.
a lot these days. Yeah, I think it does seem like they've had better days. The publishing side of them has had better days. So I think it does seem like all of their, just monthly books they're putting out are pretty down the middle. And I liked, I like the down the middle DC thing.
Yeah.
And the Bendis stuff is kind of funny. The Bendis stuff is quippy. That's that's his lane for sure. But yeah,
I mean,
it's a risk, right?
Maybe
like,
Legion of Superheroes is where you get closer to
for
that,
sure,
because they're also like young. Like that idea is that they're all like
right.
teens and stuff, and it's also the future, and they also all have powers, and they also all want to date each other. So it gets like a little lighter, but that's maybe the closest you get is some Legion.
I think
stuff.
the problem is that like it's a huge risk, right? And it's not like we don't have books that are comedic. Like Doom Patrol is comedic. Like
there's humor in lots of books
for sure, but like a big main sort of team or character like that, no. And I think the problem is that like I think this came partly due to the fact that it's like post-crisis. They needed something to keep going, but they weren't ready to probably like pick into the next story. And nowadays, it's like everything is a crisis. Everything is like the next biggest thing.
Right.
And so, and if they're not setting up for a crisis, they're trying to reboot in some way, right?
Sure.
And so there's not that opportunity, that benchmark moment to be able to go, okay, now we can rest and do something fun as like it's like every comic is like the one that is going to save the industry. And so it feels like there's less of an opportunity to be able to actually like take a breath and make a joke.
I do feel like we'll get one again.
I
It
hope
just takes
so.
the right team coming along and saying, like, you know what, enough's enough. This can be fun again. I mean, I would make the argument it's not a comedy, but Steve Orlando
Oh yeah.
and I think it's Ivan Rice did a Justice League of America series that had a better kind of banter, like team kind of dynamic with Lobo and the Atom and Vixen and Black Canary
Yeah.
and like that one felt like it had more energy that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a Steve Orlando, Gail Simone like comedic directed book
That'd
like
be fun.
Yeah.
that.
Seems like they could use JLI as a brand to signal like this one's funnier. It's you know,
Yes.
it's a kind of a mishmash of characters, you know. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like this is well known enough to where
it could constitute a series for
yeah,
sure.
to where like DC readers would know that like JLI means funnier
Yes.
and more fun.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I
think
fully
that's totally true.
support that. Yeah, DC, call Jordan.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The second I get, it's the first thing I'm pitching.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's perfect.
He's a comic writer
Yeah,
now.
I mean, yeah,
Sure.
there's context now.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter.
To Twitter.
Stay off that and let me run this show.
Oh no, you got it wrong.
First from Twitter, Delgado Andrew.
Ooh.
I don't even know who this person is. Who asks, how did the UN and the international angle play into JLI's adventures? Bwahaha tone aside, was there any political intrigue? Did they have more non-American members than other versions of the Justice League?
Right. Well, the first thing is that the UN actually charters this league, which gives them leave to go and enter countries and work globally,
Yeah.
which is in the first volume that they get like they keep getting turned back from. It's both Bialya and Russia.
Right.
They keep getting turned back at the border like they're about to cause an incident.
And I'm sure there's like this was probably like really ripped from the headlines at the time. I'm sure there's like, you know, because yeah, like going into the UN feels like a very 80s thing. you know?
Yeah.
Like yeah, and just like all the you know yeah, all the 80s kind of like Russia business is it seems like it's very of the time. So I'm sure a lot of that like read as satirical, like more than it does now.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that it it goes too deep on intrigue, but they do always come back to those very 80s talking points. Like when MangaCon comes to barter the earth, which is a very silly thing from volume 3. When MangaCon comes to do that, they use the phrase like, we're going to share with each other, we're going to barter. And the American response is, that sounds like communism. And then you cut to Rocket Red in space, and he's like, you capitalist pigs, like, because they're going to buy and sell the earth. Like,
Sure.
So they make a point of making sure you know, like, those two perspectives, that the same event is viewed as either capitalism or communism.
Right.
But I don't know that it goes. I wouldn't say it gets like intriguey.
No.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, I think there's that little plot where they have to, you know, go to Bialya and love a great comic book country. And that's the thing where God, I was even kind of confused. I'm like, oh, maybe they don't know Batman is Bruce Wayne, so he's saying I'm disguised as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So there's a little like, you know, going undercover at the ball type scene. So yeah, there's a little bit of spy stuff, I guess.
Yeah, and the leader of Bialya, Roman Harjavti, First he gets kind of in bed with the Soviets to protect him from the Justice League of, at the time, America.
Mhm.
Then when they become international, he goes to disgruntled members of the now disbanded Global Guardians to try and get them to be his like lapdog. Like he's basically trying to make his own little personal super team
Mhm.
Yeah.
to protect himself. So there's that kind of political thing in there. Non-American members, we talked about Rocket Red. We talked about Fire. She's from Brazil. Ice is from Norway.
What a combination. Oh my god, I want that so much.
Well,
Like a-
yeah, and she's also like she's like timid and Fire is very like outgoing and vivacious. Like it's
Yeah.
actually it's the perfect buddy cop.
They need to
kind
they need to do a Fire and Ice series. That would
So
be so
good.
great.
Yeah. So they're from other countries. Dr. Light Kimio Hoshi, who's sort of pseudo roped in, is from Japan.
Yeah.
They're still disproportionately American on that
Right.
team, but it is probably the most effort they've put into saying people are from other places.
For sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I realized where I messed up. I was supposed to be on Instagram, and I was on Twitter. Yeah, I get it now. Yeah, no. I'm irresponsible. I shouldn't have this job. I'm bad at this. I'm not good at podcasting. We are on Instagram, and the next question comes from Robbie's Just This Guy, who asks, "Who are the heavy hitters besides Martian Manhunter? Who takes down a rampaging Black Adam or cyborg Superman in the JLI?"
Right. Who are the big guns?
Yeah, Booster Gold, I guess.
I mean,
Booster Gold ends up. So God, that first
Technically,
Booster
yeah.
Gold fight where they fight the villains that are made up to look like a deck of cards. Who the fuck are they? They're great. I have
That's
never
the,
seen them before.
That's the Royal Flush Gang. Yeah,
They're awesome.
Yeah, classic like Silver Age Justice League villains.
Mm-hmm.
And then their like Robo Terminator character is the
Yeah.
ace in the hole.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Which is like just so fucking funny and cool. Yeah, it seems like Booster has firepower. He has
Mhm.
future weapons and stuff like that. Although I guess he mainly kind of smarts them to death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's got like a force field belt. And
Yeah,
stuff
Guy
like
Gardner is definitely. I mean, he's a lantern.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
technically speaking, as a Green Lantern.
God, you are literally like blood's coming out of your ears right now. he's a Green Lantern.
Yeah, Green Lantern.
You-
Any Green Lantern.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so funny. Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
Blue
You got
Beetle
the-
is just a guy with tech. He doesn't even have all the same tech that Batman has. I
Mm.
mean, if we're talking about
Batman's in there.
if we're talking about most powerful
Yeah.
as heavy hitters, Martian Manhunter, obviously.
for sure.
He's
Yeah.
Superman plus shape-shifting telekinesis, telepathy, all that kind of stuff. Captain Marvel for a bit while he was on the team.
Yeah.
Captain Atom is a quantum superhero. He's living energy in a containment suit.
Big Barda a little bit later.
yeah.
And and she's
Definitely.
she's like a tank character, right?
Yeah, Big Barda, definitely. Again, in the beginning when he was actually around, Dr. Fate, although that Dr. Fate is not Kent Nelson and says at some point in the book, like, I'm not as powerful as Kent Nelson. Like,
Oh, wow.
I can't, because someone says, like, your magic, can't you just, like, snap your
Right.
fingers and do this thing? And he's like, no.
Wow,
So even
it's not all
Dr.
just
Fate's
the
a
helmet,
little,
yeah.
a little less powerful.
that's interesting. Can you? Is it just like access to it, training, or is it like?
It's like magical abilities. Some people are more like naturally a conduit for magic than others. There's like DC has like the race of Homo Magi, like Zatara and Zatanna. They are like genetically predisposed to magic.
Yeah.
Constantine gets demon blood in him. That gives him more ability to do magic in that. So there's some people that are just more attuned,
So when you get the access, you're suddenly
Yeah, so then that plus the power of the helmet of fate and all that kind of stuff, that would
Yeah.
make you a very powerful.
fair. Okay.
Yeah.
So if Zatanna got the helmet.
Oh yeah, she'd be insane. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's leave Twitter and head on over to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
I got that right.
You did.
Yeah,
You did.
yeah. It's a great place. Everyone's really sweet there. I don't understand. Maybe we need a one punch to Reddit.
Our little subreddit
It's
is
true.
the one little nice corner. It's just nice people asking questions.
The Max Fun one is also super nice too, but
Yeah.
otherwise it's a
It's
hellscape.
there's some exceptions to the rule. Few I can think of.
All right. The question we got from Reddit is from I Am Wallpaper. You're more than that, man. Keep your chin up.
We've got the low self-esteem corner of Reddit. That's
Yeah, comics? No way. I Am Wallpaper asks if there was to be a JLI sitcom made in the same style as The Office of B99.
I think they mean or like Brooklyn
or
Nine-Nine,
or Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Who would you cast as the main seven? Ooh.
Now, before we dive into that, Jordan, have you ever seen the failed Justice League pilot
I
from
thought you were gonna be like, have you
1997?
seen The Office?
I have. It is on. It is now on most TV networks.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
when you watch TV over the air, it
You're
is
watching The
mostly
Office,
The
yeah,
Office.
yeah.
No, I know it exists. I am aware that in the '90s, NBC tried to do Friends, but in the Justice League. Yeah, I should YouTube that. I'm sure it's
Because the
crazy.
craziest thing about that 1997 pilot,
We need to watch this,
first of all,
yeah.
the lineup was The Atom, Fire, Ice, Green Lantern, Flash, and Martian Manhunter.
We got Fire and Ice. We got it on
Fire and Ice
TV.
were in
It's
there.
crazy. I had no idea. More
me
reason
either.
to watch this thing.
But they were doing like mockumentary cutaways, like
What?
confessionals.
That's funny.
So it would like you'd see some scenes and then you'd see like a confessional thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably very radical for the time. That's
Yeah,
probably why
extremely.
it didn't
Which-
work.
It's so wild that we've like come like they were clearly hitting on something,
They
but
just didn't know what to do with it.
no one had blazed that trail yet or figured out like what the format was. So we want to cast a Justice League International Office Parks and Rec style show. Who
Ooh.
would you put in some of
Okay,
those
so
roles?
Martian Manhunter we need to go with, right?
You need someone like stoic. You're Ron Swanson. You need
Sure.
your
You see kind of an Andre Brower type character
Ooh, yeah.
from Brooklyn
yes.
Nine-Nine. That seems to
I
be
mean,
the
that's a
That's just a good.
I would just lift that. Yeah. Definitely.
yeah, maybe not bad casting either. To tell you the truth. They
Yeah.
just
What about
Yeah.
like Beetle and Booster?
yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of comedy there.
Who's the I can't never remember his name. Who's the guy from Community? The main guy?
Oh,
Joel McHale.
yes.
Joel McHale. Thank you.
Yeah, Joel McHale would be a good booster.
I would throw him in for that. Yeah.
Nathan
yeah.
Fillion.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you have to put him in something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Donald Glover as like Booster or as Blue Beetle.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Oh, you could just do the two guys from Community and
Yeah.
Oh, him and
Oh, yeah.
Danny Pudi.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's just a good. Yeah, that's just smart.
I kind of like the idea of taking like a very kind of serious actor who's got good comedy chops and throwing them in as like Rocket Red. Because Rocket Red isn't necessarily funny, but like there's a humor in like he keeps trying to say like American phrases. And he gets
Yeah,
them
that's
wrong.
a
Like-
good gag.
like a Bryan Cranston, like someone who could just very straight play like, no, I'm just saying your American phrase, hokey smokes, and then
Right.
kind of go off and do something else. Like I could see him being funny in that.
Who haven't we talked about yet?
Guy Gardner.
Oh,
You know, I think he'd be a good, he could be a good, Michael Scott, David Brent type boss,
Right.
kind of like, although I guess Michael Scott got sweet and you kind of rooted for him at some point, but if you do need a character who's kind of just an asshole boss who you love to hate, like Guy Gardner,
Yeah.
not a bad choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. I mean, we're almost kind of going between the like, are we casting actors for JLI or are we casting JLI for
Right.
The Office? And if we went that way, Guy Gardner to me is full Creed energy, just chaos,
Oh, yeah, sure.
chaos and mayhem and likely murder. Just-
Although maybe that's like that character Creed was very like a kind of like acid casualty of the 60s, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of like some of the energy Dr. Fate brings. He's kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
always
Yeah,
on another
interesting.
plane of existence. Maybe
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
the weird
You know
guy
who-
by the copier who is
I
always
like
saying
that,
something
yeah.
mystical.
A good booster is Will Arnett.
Oh,
sure.
yeah, that's
of
great
course,
casting.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure. if you're
that's
doing-
basically Joe Bluth.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've got it. Let's the script sold in the
My
room.
last one I'm just going to throw out there is what's her name? Mary Chieffo, who played Laurel on Star Trek Discovery, the Klingon.
Oh.
Big Barda.
Oh yeah.
That's my Barda.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not as the
there's
Klingon.
definitely I mean, and, this is this is the Tom King thing a little bit, but there is a scot-free Big Barda sitcom that you could do
Yes.
that is like a family sitcom.
It
Um,
needs to come. I mean, they
family
need to do
sitcom
something.
on Apocalypse.
Yeah, if there wasn't already WandaVision, Scott and Barda would fit really well in one of those like
Right,
episodes, like one of those like
Mhm.
format kind of things. That'd be a very fun.
Oh,
sort of thing.
that would rule. God. Yeah, we need that.
Tight.
I could do that all day. All right. Final place we're going is over to our Discord.
Oh shoot! I'm supposed to come up with something.
Yeah. Now.
I need a
Do it
classic rock
now.
song.
Just do a song now, not B44.
Oh shoot! I can't even think of.
No,
a
you
classic
just have
rock
to do
song.
B44.
Like a dark side of scorn, I'll be gone when the morning comes. Shoot! I always forget that I have to come up with that drop.
I mean, it's a thing you did to yourself too.
yeah, I know.
Yeah. Much like this podcast. Why do we keep doing it? We did it to ourselves. First question comes from Damiana Democ, who asks, why so many Justice Leagues? Why is it so hard to get justice? Do they even actually bring about justice, or is it just a name? Fair.
I mean, I think obviously justice doesn't end. It's an ongoing. This guy's looking for an ultimate world which is just. I don't think that such a thing could ever exist. It's human nature. It will never be just. But you need to keep trying. Damn it.
Yeah, maybe that's a 2021 talking, but
That's
I
a-
agree. Yeah.
That feels like a good
human
Maxwell.
struggle.
That feels like a good Maxwell Lord talking point where they're like, "Has your Justice League accomplished anything?" And then he would say, "We're trying."
Right. You gotta try. You gotta do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, why so many leagues? Well, I mean, this one again has the distinction of being international because they are actually like chartered to operate globally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a team that comes after this one, led by Captain Atom, that has the very 90s title of Extreme Justice.
Of course.
Oh boy.
And that's a
Yeah.
very like
Is there an E in there, or is it extreme?
it's E, but the X is
It's
bigger.
real big.
on the
Okay,
cover,
yeah.
That makes sense.
You know, like there's that team with they dole out justice with a firmer hand. You
Oh,
know, like
yeah.
kind of that sort of
Sure.
thing. There's
no
the
matter what their
Justice-
mom
the
says.
Justice League of America is its own thing. Justice League Now is kind of like a global thing, but there's the Justice League Dark. I kind of like the idea that certain leagues have certain
Specialties. Yeah, that's a
specialties,
fun.
yeah.
That is a fun. Because obviously you can't listen. I guess Superman could do it all. I guess that's
Yeah.
always the DC conundrum. It's like, couldn't Superman just handle this?
Right. Yeah.
But I think that's a great reasoning, is that there's specialties. The Dark, they got the vampires, they got
Yeah.
the zombies. If you have problems with that, that's who you call.
Yeah.
Just different leagues for different problems.
And then also like you said, on the publishing side, it's sort of nice to be like Justice League Dark. That's my like scary horror book. I'm gonna
Right,
see like
yeah.
a face in a torso or like, and then Justice League International. I'm gonna feel good. There's gonna be some laughs. Like I think there's like a brandy thing on the publishing level that also works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Next question comes from Bruno Batista, who asks, Booster and Beetle are possibly the greatest comics funny duo of all times. But despite Booster's reputation as an airhead, if you go back to the original JLI run, Blue Beetle actually came up with a lot of their schemes and was arguably more responsible for their bad reputation back then. When and why did Booster get the fame of being the stupid one, and Beetle for years never got any flack for any of it?
Right.
Wow.
I mean, Beetle is behind most of their shenanigans, but to call them schemes, I think, is to overstate it.
It's funny. So I do know that Beetle came from another publisher. I don't
Mhm.
know where Booster came from. Is he just a totally original creation of the 80s?
Booster was the first new original DC character introduced after Crisis.
Oh,
Wow.
cool.
That was
Okay.
Dan Jurgens, and I forget the
So he's
co-creator.
pretty new in this series then.
Yeah, like Booster was just like they had done Crisis, and they were like, we need a brand new hero. We're gonna make a new character
Yeah.
for this new era. Booster is that.
Wow, I had no
Is
idea.
where he comes from.
That's
So
crazy.
he's
So-
totally original to that era of DC.
Wow.
I think there's a little scene where they're in Paris and Booster is like talking about all the beautiful women,
Yeah.
and and I think Beatles thing is like, you're not just going to go up and talk to women, are you? And by the way, you're being a little bit sexist.
Right.
So I do think it does seem like they are always setting Booster up to be this kind of like lovable cad. And then,
Yeah.
he spends the whole rest of the issue laughing at him because he got slapped. So I don't know.
Mhm.
It does seem like it doesn't seem like they switched them to me. If this is like an early appearance, it does seem like that dynamic is steady.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely both goofsters. I do think that there's a little bit of a thing where maybe Booster is more outwardly goofy, like beyond the group. His goofiness reads more, and in the group, like Beetle is very jokey and stuff like that. He jokes all the time to the point where Batman's like, "Please shut up."
Yeah.
But like, I think it's almost like more contained. So in a way, it's the thing that Booster would hate more. Is like publicly, Booster is the one that gets like slapped by someone or something
Sure.
like that.
And he's like high confident. He's high confidence, high status. And I think Beetle's a little more neurotic, a
Yeah.
little more internal.
The Beetle is probably sillier, but he's like also flying under the radar a little bit, I think is like the thing there. I mean, they go there's I mean later things they play pranks on Martian Manhunter and like hide his chacos. They go do like it's just like silly pranks mostly. But yeah, I would say that
Was part of this was this because I know there's the Boosters sort of storyline where he like has to like pretend to be worse than he
that's
actually is.
later.
Is that later?
That's like
Okay.
post Infinite Crisis.
Because that's the version of him that I
like
really
after
love.
52.
Yeah.
That's when he sort of gets this mission that he's going to protect time, and the best way to do that is to look like he's too incompetent to protect time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was actually after this. Okay.
That's after, which I think you can reasonably read that almost like a retcon. Like,
well, because it's time travel, right? So
technically, yeah, these events happened earlier, but he's a time traveler. I think you could read it as like maybe that was always his thing.
because I kind of love that version of him. That's the version of him that I love.
Right.
I think I fell in love with. So
yeah, I mean, really, for the most part, the thing with these two, and Captain Atom even mentions it, is when they hang out, they get juvenile.
yes.
Like they're like little boys, like tittering at like gorgeous women. Like is sort of their thing. Like the Paris thing is a perfect example. There's a example later where they've only ever heard about Barda from Scott, who
Yeah.
is on the team, and they go like, "I've heard like what is it? Is she like this real like tough broad or whatever?"
Yeah.
One of them, I can't even remember who it is, says, "Oh, she's all woman, but she's from Apocalypse, so she's no lady." Like they're just being like weird,
Yeah.
tittery little boys about women. Like, yeah,
Jesus.
it's funny.
All right, let's go to the last question from We've Only Just done, who asks, "Do you think the series got too comedic down the line? Did it get to the point of being parody of itself?"
I mean, you've already sort of mentioned, Volume 3, where like Manga
Yeah,
Con
it's
shows up and
so
stuff like
much
that.
jokier than one.
Yeah.
They really take it and run with it. And yeah, I mean, I can see like, not liking that spice. But yeah, I don't know. I was here for it. It almost seemed Mad Magazine to me. It had
Oh,
a
wow.
really like
Right.
Mad Magazine tone
Totally.
of just this kind of like, you know, illustration with like 3 blocks of jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It reminded me of that in a good way. And I do think that they do play the like action and the serious stuff serious, but like
Yeah.
but yeah, I do to this question asker's point. They did take it and run with it.
There's a Blue Beetle like sequence that I'm thinking of where it starts sounding like a Silver Agey kind of line of dialogue where he says like time to use the patented Blue Beetle like air blaster gun, and then he goes like time to use the patented Blue Beetle like flashbang, and then that disarms like the person.
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, glad that worked, or I was going to have to use the patented Blue Beetle feet. Like, it's just like
good gag, solid.
I think
joke.
that's a funny joke.
Solid
There's a
joke.
few. There's a few of those kind of like 3-beat jokes all through that series.
That's a solid joke. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, for our modern sensibility, this is just slapstick.
Yeah.
As for a Justice League book, but I think it works. I like it. I actually don't think they could have gone too far.
Yeah.
And some of the things in there come back, or inspire things later. I mentioned that Steve Orlando, Ivan Rice, Justice League of America series. When they did the crossover with Doom Patrol, that Milk Wars crossover, MangaCon is in there.
Oh yeah.
And
funny.
And he's trying to buy up all of reality on the cheap. Like they take some of those ideas, the stupid bartery kind of thing from this book, and then come back to it and reinvent it for something newer and funner and even zanier, because it was about like he was trying to buy it from a company called Retcon. Like it was about reality and stuff. Like I think there's a lot of good stuff in this book that can be overlooked because it like might get overlooked because the book was funny, but it's still like good comic book stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Totally. All right. Well, that was the last question. But before we go, it's time to play everyone's favorite game.
Ooh.
Can you guess the name of the character based on who someone who does not read comic books can describe that character to us? If you don't know the game, I send a photo of a DC character to my wife, who then responds with 4 clues describing what she sees. I know who I sent because I sent it, and but neither the guest nor the doctor know who it is.
Right. You can guess as many times as you want. You can wait for more clues. There's no wrong way to play.
There's only wrong answers.
There's only wrong answers. Yeah. A lot of them.
All right. Let's start with the first clue.
Okay.
Likely a member of the Black Parade.
Right.
Okay, so somebody kind of gothy.
With like
Lobo? I mean, I know Lobo makes a little appearance later.
No,
does it
but
have like
I
the
like
drum major kind of look? Is it Sonar?
It's not Sonar.
Okay.
But I like where your head's at.
All right.
Any more clues? Or we want to go to the next?
No, let's go to the next clue.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And the next clue. Interchangeable looks.
They've got different costumes?
Interchangeable looks.
Black Parade.
I mean, I guess Black
looks.
Canary,
No,
but it's a little gothy in a good way.
Okay. God.
Yeah, maybe go to the next clue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Third clue. Chemically enhanced.
Chemically enhanced.
Chemically enhanced.
Uh-huh.
Probably wearing black.
I didn't say
interchangeable looks.
Sure.
But Black Parade.
I don't know. It's not Batman, is it? I mean,
oh my God, no.
You should know who Batman is at this point, right?
Yeah, that would be a big problem.
Chemically enhanced makes me think of Bane, but
it's not Bane. But you're on the right track.
Is this for? Are this any characters from these particular books, or is this all characters?
It's all
okay.
characters.
Oh, all characters. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's think. Who are the gothiest interchangeable looks? There's somebody with like like makeup that bisects their face. Two-Face?
No, but that's a good guess.
Or like Equinox?
No.
Okay.
You ready for the final clue?
Yeah, let's have
the
last clue. Yeah.
Final clue. Very frank.
Frank Sinatra. Is it? Yeah.
It's Frank Sinatra. Oh my God!
He's got to exist in the DC universe, right?
Yeah, Yeah, he owes money to the Falcone crime family in that one.
Right.
Sorry, he's very frank.
Yeah.
Frank.
Yeah. Constantine?
No. I'll say the name is very well known.
Okay. Huh.
Okay, sorry, I got to go back through this.
Yeah.
Black Parade.
Yeah.
Interchangeable looks.
Uh-huh.
Chemically
Chemically enhanced.
enhanced.
Very frank.
Very frank.
You'll be very upset once you find this out, so.
Scarecrow?
No.
I have no idea.
When I tell you you're gonna be furious.
Do you have one?
No, I have 0 guesses. I'm out.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm gonna be mad about
this
this.
is sweet.
Huh?
This tastes so
I'm gonna
good.
be angry about.
Yeah,
this
you're gonna be
one.
real mad.
All right.
It's Frankenstein.
Oh, son of a bitch! He does have that goddamn drum major.
There you go. Agent
Son
of
of a-
Shade.
Yeah, that you're right. That does make me angry. Yeah.
Oh God, I don't stump you very often. It makes me very happy.
Shoot. Oh,
My wife really pulled all the stops
yeah,
this time.
that was a good one.
Yeah, that was really fun. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was a blast. This is such a fun excuse to get at these comics. Yeah, they're terrific.
Before we go, let people know where to look for Bubble and what other things you've got coming down. This is plugs, all the plugs.
Yes.
Promote your stuff.
Yeah. So you already let me plug away at the top, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I'll mention one more time. Bubble. It's a graphic novel. It's a sci-fi comedy. Search Party meets Guardians of the Galaxy, if you could imagine such a thing. All these goofy hipsters who have to fight monsters in a domed city after the apocalypse. Yeah, it's coming out July 13th, but we're really pushing people to pre-order. I think we're going to have some cool stuff for people who pre-order. So if you like additional stuff, maybe get on that. And you can do that from Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It is at most local indie bookstores and most comic book shops, except ones that deal exclusively with Diamond.
Right.
It'll be pre-orderable there by May. But everywhere else, yeah, get those pre-orders in. It really helps the book, and yeah, you can get it ASAP after it comes out.
That's awesome.
Also, listen to Jordan and Jesse Go because
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah, listen to
funniest.
Jordan Jesse Go. That's a podcast that's out there.
It's like episode 10,000, but it's still it's just as good as it always was. So.
Thanks.
And we would love to hear from you, residents, or maybe you can. Yeah.
No, I'm in a bad mood. I didn't get the thing.
Oh, okay. I bet they all did.
That's especially why I don't want to hear from you. I'm
Everyone,
going to tell you all the places I don't want you to get in touch with me.
please, on all of these places, please come and tell him about how quickly you got it.
Do never tell me about how quickly you got there.
So you're not appreciating those texts I give you every week?
Yeah, done.
Got there.
Done. I did it.
Bingo.
World record.
In what? Speed or like amount?
I mean, take your pick, I guess. I mean, I know it's not amount.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said it like that.
Yeah.
I know it's not amount.
I mean,
It's very saucy.
Yeah, or that, or it's like you like produce so much
Yeah,
that
because I have the record.
yeah. Someone would have called me.
Jesus Christ.
Well, send those as well as
Oh, no.
the how quickly you guessed today's Can You Guess the Character to our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Twitter,
At Dr. DC.
our Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
of course, our email.
DrDCPodcast@gmail.com.
And we talked about it already, but we've got a great subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
The doc phone is always open.
208-917-3238.
It's got dust all over it and is rarely rung, but we have the doc phone 208-917.
It's there when we need it.
That's right. For when you deserve it.
Oh,
When we deserve it.
yeah?
Yeah. Of course, we also have our website.
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
All the episodes are posted there. There one point there was blogs. I think you can go back in time a few
Why
years.
even bring that? It's been years.
I know, because
since
it
I
hurts
tried
you.
to also do that too.
Yeah, because it hurts you.
Do you know why I don't have time? It's because I'm working for you on the side of my actual job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Get out of here. Of course, we want those 5-star reviews.
Yeah. But we'll take 4s. No, we 5-star reviews on
Oh, wow, you sound like my wife.
on Apple. Well, yeah, she definitely took a 4. 5-star reviews on Apple or on Facebook, or if you leave them somewhere else, take a screenshot and send it to us so that we know that you did.
Yeah, and if you want to continue to support us and get something out of it, you greedy little bitches,
Oh my God. So aggressive.
subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, there's a $1, $5, $7 level. All levels gain you access to the Discord, our amazing, fun Discord server, which is a great time.
Which we've lost control of.
Oh, inmates are running the asylum.
I like that they're actively trying to just take over your job. I mean, it's been very fun to watch.
Yeah. The people on there forget how time zones work and be like, it's noon, and be like, it's 9.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
But that's over there. Patreon gets you access to that. At the $5 level, then you get our full bonus episode every week, the Double Dose. The levels above that, you get to help us pick like themes for episodes. We post videos, we post extra stuff when we do like October and our kind of fun months, and it all helps support us.
And you want to hear our Snyder Cut take. I know
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
We're going to record the episode, but we're not going to release it.
Well, we're going to record the episode, and then the network is going to interfere, and they're going to bring someone else in to re-record bits and just cut our episode to shit.
Yeah.
And then years later, you guys will have to rally and harass everyone you know.
In a very hateful and negative way.
Very hateful and negative ways, so that we will be paid in a way we weren't even paid the first time around.
To finish our
To finish
episode.
the thing that already exists.
Yeah, I can't
and
wait to
then
get
we'll put it out.
$25 million
Yeah.
to finish a podcast.
Yeah. Hashtag release the doc
Snyder.
cut of the reaction to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
And if you want even more content, we've got a whole other podcast.
Yeah. Ooh.
Is it Christmas
Ghostfacers
already?
a
Oh.
Supernatural rewatch. We're going through every single episode of Supernatural. We've had a ton of great guests on so far this season. We're in season 2 right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a ton of fun. We talk about monster lore. We talk about behind the scenes stuff on the show. We've had some really, really cool interviews, cool guests.
Mhm.
It's a ton of fun. Check that out wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, if you like quality and you're sick of this, that's where you go.
It's definitely the better podcast.
The main one. All right, that is it for this week. Ciao, ciao. Adios.
Superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.